your heart, open your soul, open 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 your heart, open your soul, Jaya Radhe. Open your heart, open your soul, open your heart, open your soul, open your heart, open your soul, Jaya Radhe. Open your heart, open your soul, open your heart, open your soul, open your heart, open your soul, Jaya Radhe. Open your heart, open your soul, open your heart, open your soul, open your heart, open your soul, Jaya Radhe.
Aloha. Good evening. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Image Productions on free conference call, Instagram, and YouTube, establishing and maintaining right relationships through human values. Aloha and welcome to tonight's show. Tonight we're doing the Intimacy, Tantra, and Relationships Psychically Fulfilled show. Tonight we have a guest with us all the way out of Hawaii, Mare Simone. Aloha, Mare.
Aloha. Here I am.
Thank you for being here. And we also have
Yes.
I don't know how you say your name, Egu Tom on Instagram as well. So he's listening to us as we speak. So anyhow, tonight we're talking about Tantra Heaven, and just to let you guys know, Andrew Aloha, myself, and I, and Maha Dakini Lorae welcome you to the Intimacy, Tantra, Relationships Psychically Fulfilled show. This is an online Tantra session filled with spice, nice, and everything right. Aloha is a Tantric Practitioner for several years now, while Maha Dakini Lorae is out of San Francisco, although it happens to be in Las Vegas. Excuse me, whatever. She's a Sacred Sexuality Educator, Certified Tantric Counselor, and Tantric Healer. Each month, Aloha and Maha Dakini Lorae, and at times other guests such as Mare tonight, discuss relationships pertaining to couples, partners, lovers, and significant others from a tantric and a psychic point of view. Join us for an incredibly interesting show filled with relationships, spirituality, sensuality, intimacy, healing, sex, and more. Awesome. Anyhow, Tantra Heaven is where body and soul meet. Workshops, webinars, teleseminars, private sessions via phone and also in person. Mare Simone is a pioneer in the field of exploring Tantra and enlightened sexual loving. She's on a mission to heal and awaken men, women, and couples to the vast power of pleasure that is inherent in all of us, but dormant in most. She has been on TV numerous times, on the Learning Channel, Discovery, HBO's Real Sex, the Playboy Channel, British ITV, E! Entertainment, and more. She appears on the popular Tantra video produced by Tantra.com, Ancient Secrets for Modern Lovers. Mare currently leads webinars, seminars, and maintains an ongoing private practice along with ongoing coaching via phone with clients across the globe. She lives in Southern California and tours the U.S. and abroad. Her Tantra profession began in the mid-1980s, where a year-long teacher training and initiation in Tantra, Kriya, Yoga, and many years apprenticeship with Charles and Caroline Muir of Source, excuse me, SourceTantra.com. Mare is a certified sex surrogate since 1986. She is a featured surrogate in a video called Sexual Secrets, a Surrogate's Guide to Great Sex. In 1989, she founded Tantra Connections in Los Angeles to establish a community founded on tantric skills and principles. During this 5-year period, she had the great fortune to study with many of the top Tantra masters throughout the U.S. In 1993, she began an extended apprenticeship and practice with Charles Muir and Caroline Muir. She became an ATC Advanced Certified Tantric Educator through their Source School of Tantra. She continues to co-facilitate at their seminars as well, privately and with students there as well. And yeah, for more information on Mare Simone and Tantra Heaven, you can go to www.maresimone.com. And we're going to come back and talk to her some more about Tantra Heaven and her escapades in Tantra and go from there. In the meantime, what I do want to do, I want to give a big aloha to all of our underwriters that help make this show happen from week to week, month to month, year to year, beginning with the 90-Day Ascension Journey at www.90dayascensionjourney.com. When you sign up for the 90-Day Ascension Journey, you will be facilitated with defining and redefining your soul's true life purpose. You will be assisted with finding out what ascension means to you. On this journey, you will be provided with tools, techniques, and assistance to empower you to connect and reconnect with yourself, your emotions and feelings, and your mind, body, and spirit. Through a universal soul center process, you will be going through a lifelong transformation that will allow you to move forward with your endeavors and never look back if you dare. And then we also have a novate. Excuse me. Before I do that, okay, here we go. A novate is actually a French word, ANOVITE, at www.spiritualimageproductions.novate.com. With over 25,000 scientific research papers published on colostrum, a 90-day guarantee, and winner of the Healthy Living People's Choice Award twice over, a novate focuses on helping people with weight loss, anti-aging, heart disease, diabetes, depression, high blood pressure, asthma, allergies, and rheumatoid arthritis, inflammation, gout, lupus, fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, cancer, ulcers, poliovirus, chronic infections, digestive disorders, Alzheimer's disease, autoimmune disease, thymus gland, mental clarity, maintenance and protection of the immune system, synthesis of repair of the RNA and DNA, and much, much more. Again, you can go back and check it out for yourself and go from there. Finally, we do have Maha Dakini Lorae at www.mahadakini.com. Maha Dakini Lorae's Maha Dakini Lorae's life has been a personal journey exploring sexuality and spirituality for over 20 years. She's a certified Tantra counselor and Tantric healer and a certified mind sound teacher. Maha Dakini Lorae has been she's a graduate of Margot Anand's year-long Sky Dancing Tantra Facilitator Training Program, as well as a current member of the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselor and Therapists Club, and a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. She regularly attends trainings and conferences to keep current with the latest research and information on sexual education. And aloha, Maha Dakini Lorae, how are you?
I'm doing good. But
Yeah.
It's pruning up here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
There's no moisture, so yeah, I have to remember to drink water and stay hydrated. Otherwise, I'm doing great.
Are you going party mode, like wild crazy woman mode this weekend or what?
No.
All right. Well, that sounds fine to me. But anyhow, tell Elvis I said hi while you're out there, right?
Okay, I'm sure I'll see quite a few of them.
All right. So we're back to Mare, all the way out of Hawaii. So aloha, Mare. What's going on with you?
Oh, aloha. Well, I'm looking at the ocean right now, sitting under an umbrella because it's a little wet. It rains a lot where I am in Hilo. So I'm prepared for the weather and hopefully enough bars that we can keep this connection going.
Nice. She's having a difficult time with the reception out there. I don't know why she would have a difficult time with all those islands out there. Excuse me, whatever.
I'm in the jungle.
Oh no, excuse me.
Rain and lots of rain.
Heaven forbid not the jungle. So Mare, why don't you just like give us like an overview bio of Mare and how you got to where you're at now, and then we'll talk about Tantra Heaven afterwards. How's that?
Yeah, well, I started my life and entered into my early adulthood, my womanhood, with a lot of openness and innocence and a desire and a passion to really fully come alive in my femininity. And I was a very sexual being even when I was quite young. I remember a neighbor of mine who I was very attracted to, who was a few years older than me when I was about 11, still a virgin. But he asked me this question that was so provocative. He said, do you think that sex is physical, emotional, or spiritual? And I thought for a moment, and before I could answer, I was kind of really puzzled because I'd never heard the notion that sexuality had a spiritual component to it. And then he said, well, it's all three. And I thought, well, how do you know? He's probably not. I think he might have been 13. But I also feel like he was sort of an angelic being who planted a seed in my brain. Because ever since then, I always had a desire to understand the full spectrum of sexuality, especially the spiritual qualities.
Got it. Now, where did you grow up at, Mare? I didn't catch that, I guess.
Yeah, I was in Buffalo, New York.
Oh, you grew up in Buffalo. Really? I used to have a roommate from Buffalo. That guy was high energy. He was pretty spastic, but that's besides the point. So anyhow, so you grew up in Buffalo. Let's see if I got this straight. And how old were you when you encountered this person?
Oh, I think I was 11. I was still quite the virgin, but curious as all hell, wearing mini skirts and go-go boots and trying to be 18.
Yeah, typical teenager, right?
You know.
So you seen him on the street, on the sidewalk? I don't understand. How did you encounter this person?
Oh, he was my next door neighbor and my secret love. I had one of those big crushes on him, and every time I saw him, I knew that I was supposed to know him. And I think now, looking back at it, because that seed was so profound for me, I think that was the purpose for that connection, was for him to give me the insight that at least I should continue to explore that sexuality had some spiritual depth to it that was more than the average person knew and understood. That set me on quite the quest.
Now, what was your response to him from that question?
I was flabbergasted because nobody had ever spoke to me on those lines before.
On the birds and the bees?
Sex as being, I knew obviously it was physical and I understood the emotional component, but to understand it as a spiritual quality was something that the religion that I followed from Christianity certainly didn't teach me. So it opened my eyes to want to understand a whole lot more. So from that point, I started looking into spiritual books, teachings from different cultures and different countries, and discovered the Kama Sutra. I think I had this desire when I was very young. I wanted to be a geisha. I thought that was a really cool thing.
Oh.
And didn't really know much about it, but I just thought, in my mind, a geisha was a woman who would nurture and pamper and bathe and massage the people who would come to her, and she would awaken them with her sensual touch. So I kind of developed that as the bikini that I am now. Not exactly a geisha in the traditional sense.
Right.
Nurture and bathe and massage people.
So you were Japanese in another lifetime. Now the truth comes out. Now I understand.
I think so. I think so.
That's what it sounds like to me. Yeah, for sure. So now you grew up in New York, Mare, and you had this question lingering in the back of your mind, and so what happens after that?
Okay, I'm going to give you the long and sad story.
Well, we got plenty of time. Why not?
All right, so in my quest for understanding sex on the full gamut, all the spectrum, I started becoming very adventurous. And at the age of 16, I decided to leave Buffalo during the blizzard, hitchhiked down to Florida with a friend of mine, a girlfriend who wanted to go and visit her friend. And when I got there, I discovered sex in a very raw sense. I, back in those days, lost my virginity, and in a way, it was a very unconscious event. And I afterwards felt really empty. Like, is that all there is? What is it all about?
Right.
So it led me on an even deeper quest, because I didn't feel much pleasure. There was nothing other than pain and, discomfort for me at that time. And not a whole lot of love and affection behind it. I just thought it was time to put that part of my life behind me and move into the next phase of my womanhood. So while I was in that stage of my journeys, I was also in quite a few dangerous situations where my freedom was captivated. I was raped. Part of my journey, part of my teaching was to learn how to tap into my power as a woman, and that kind of set me on a quest for a long time, because after having been violated in that way, I numbed out. I went from being super sexy, passion woman with this desire and quest to understand the spiritual side of sexuality to this kind of mermaid sitting on a treasure chest, guarding it with my life. Like, my treasures are mine, and I'm not going to let anyone in. And then I discovered over time I became pretty numb. I lost my sensitivity to pleasure. I tried to ignore or pretend that event didn't happen, but when it came to wanting to experience pleasure and sexuality with a partner, that's when I realized that it really was a thing. It was an issue.
Yeah, because it was getting in the way of your pleasure and sensitivity. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah. It created a real shield of protection that I didn't know how to lift even when I wanted to. And in that process, I discovered that instead of pleasure, I was feeling pain. And that totally sucks, because my partner's feeling pleasure, and I'm like,
right.
It's not working for me. So that was when it really became an issue, like, I discovered that I needed to find some help, and so I did. For a while, I was in talk therapy. And talk therapy brought things to the surface and made me cry all the more, but never really allowed me to transform pain and disconnect into pleasure and power. And that's how I found Tantra. Basically, I discovered, in fact, while I was in Hawaii, when I first heard about Tantra, I was here with my sister, and I heard about Charles and Caroline Muir when they were living here. And I so wanted to find them and go to their classes, and my sister was ultra conservative and just said, no, are you crazy? That wasn't going to work for her. So I just, it planted the seed again that there was some kind of school, there was a source Tantra experience that I could tap into. And, over the years, it kept showing up in my life until it was the right time for me to step into that experience. And I was also fascinated with sexual healing from the, Western spectrum of psychology, and it brought me into becoming a sex surrogate, which some people may have heard of. At least the film The Session kind of brought it to the foreground. For those who are familiar with that movie, it's about a woman who's a sex surrogate working with a man who never had sex in his life because he was handicapped and unable to even touch or scratch himself.
So now, Mare, what is a sex surrogate? Can you? I like to look at this from a standpoint of view that people are really ignorant when they're listening to this. Go ahead.
Yeah, sex surrogacy is a fascinating field. It was developed in the 50s with Masters and Johnson, who were two sexologists who were, very forward-thinking. In fact, the TV series Masters of Sex is largely about their practice and how they work with surrogates as a triadic model. So I would work with a therapist, and the therapist and I would, discuss the client, and then I would work with the client doing what was referred to as touch therapy, and the therapist would do the talk therapy. So together we were a team, and not in the same session, but I would talk to the therapist after our sessions, and the sessions began with simple things like eye contact and face caress and hand caress and back caress, and just really learning how to touch and how to correspond communicate and express feelings of desire and pleasure and really become at home, really comfortable with one's body. So I worked with virgins and men who had erectile dysfunction on the wide gamut.
And men who did what?
Men who had erectile dysfunction.
Oh, I got it.
Come too soon, they would lose their erection over overexcitement, sometimes a lack of excitement. I've actually worked a lot with men who've had prostate cancer and have helped them to reconnect to their body in different ways. In fact, that's the interesting thing for me is that when I started to feel my body, from that sexual violence, it was something that started in my mind. And it was that spiritual component that really brought me back into a fullness, connecting my mind, my body, my heart and soul. Because as I would tune into what I felt with my higher self, and I would feel the energy of arousal, it wasn't in my sexual center, it wasn't in my sex where I felt it, it was more in my brain and in my heart. And then I would safely and sort of slowly bring that sensation down to my belly and begin to awaken my sexuality kind of from the inside out. It was like believing that I was the idea in Tantra is that we're all, a spark of divinity, that there's a God and goddess in each of us, and that's what creates life. Our sexual connection is what creates our, propagation of the, species. And when I began to understand how sacred that was, I started having profound sexual experiences that weren't based on friction sex, but more about activation, like moving of my body, breathing and sounding and opening up things that felt stuck.
Got it. So now,
and then I discovered that
go ahead.
it was underneath all of that. Well, I just wanted to say, then I found out the pleasure was underneath the pain. In fact, sometimes I would be with a partner and I would feel discomfort when he would be inside me, and I would slow down and let me feel into that place where there's some discomfort and breathe through it. And as soon as I would speak those words, it would almost like magically open and transform. So, conscious lovemaking became a really important part of the transformation and healing for me, to like feel the pain and honor and kind of own it and breathe through it, and then suddenly I would feel more energy, more pleasure, more enjoyment than I had thought was possible. Fascinating, really.
So, Lorae, Maha Dakini Lorae, do you have any questions for Mare at this point?
No, I think kind of, let me ask you, what is your opinion about what's going on now with all of these men being accused that are in high positions, and is that, on a personal level, is it doing any triggering, and then on a larger level of just women in general being at effect of all of this, and with so many women coming out with that Me Too kind of hashtag, and it seems something that's really prevalent.
So before you answer that, Mare, I want to take a step back and then lead into that, and that's a really good question, Lorae, Maha Dakini Lorae. So how old were you when you were raped? Is that what I heard you say, raped, Mare?
Yeah, I was raped at 16.
Okay, I thought so. And go ahead.
Yeah, very young, very naive, very trusting everybody.
Exactly. Now, why would you leave New York to go to Florida? What was the intention behind that? Go ahead.
Well, it's blizzard. I've had enough blizzards. There was a lot of snow, and I just yearned for more sunshine. So I just a friend called me and said she wanted to go to Florida and asked me if I would go with her. And without hesitation, I said yes. And the next day we were on the road.
Wow.
3 or 4 days later, we were baking in the hot sun in Miami.
And what did your parents do? Were you living with both your parents? And if what did they do when you were growing up?
Oh, that was a tough one. Okay, I told them, I tried, I read them a note saying I'm not running away, I'm running towards something that I'm feeling called to be. And
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I tried to, help them realize that it's not them I'm leaving. It's just, I knew that there was a big wide world out there for me, and I really wanted to, get started. I was bored with school, to be quite honest, and some part of me, I guess, knew that school wasn't going to teach me what I needed to learn to do what I'm doing now.
Got it. Now, what kind of work did they do when you were growing up? When you wrote them that letter?
Well, my dad was a self-made man. He probably had several businesses throughout my lifetime, and he was always, an entrepreneur, kind of doing everything and anything that he could, sometimes working 2 jobs. He was a hardworking man.
Got it.
He always had a great sense of humor about life, which I admired, and I've adapted both, the ability to have a good sense of humor and to be, self-made.
Got it. And your mom was a home engineer? Is that what I hear you saying?
No, she was just a, traditional housewife. She must have took care of us and stayed at home.
That's what we call home engineers, housewives. That's what we call them. So that way they have it's I think it's much more of a profession than not, but people just don't realize that. I believe. So let's go back to 16. You go to Florida, and so go ahead and how did you feel, and what led into this whole scene, and then lead us into what's going on now with the celebrity sexual assaults as well. So wherever you want to go, go for it.
Yeah. I feel like sex is a source of deep, intimate connection to our own power as women as well as men, and it's a great way of connecting intimately with one another. But it's also burdened with so much shame and fear and ignorance and sometimes selfishness. I think it's kind of a cosmic joke, though, that men are hardwired constantly. Their bodies are designed to procreate the species and to make sure it gets, the job done effectively. So men tend to come without training, without, really learning. They tend to, get excited quickly and kind of reach that peak in a real short span of time, and, come and done is, what happens with men oftentimes long before women really even begin to get a glimpse of what their capacity for pleasure is. So, I believe that there's this magical connection that happens when men learn to slow down and really take time to follow a woman's pace and to feel what a woman feels and to respond to her feelings instead of just to their own feelings, which is a lot of what I teach them, is really how to feel into their own inner feminine, their receptive side. Doesn't mean you're gay when I say that, but the inner feminine is that sensual, artistic, creative, relaxed, open, expressive part of each of us. And when a man can tap into that part of himself, he can also become multi-orgasmic. When a man learns to become multi-orgasmic, then he can really take his partner to places beyond where she's ever been before in many cases. So I think it's really important for men to learn to slow down and really track a woman's sexual feelings. And one of my great lovers, I remember saying to him one time after one of those oh my God experiences, I said, how do you do what you do? What is it that you do? I want to teach my students.
Right.
He said, well, I really feel you, feeling you, and I follow your feelings. And I let your feelings guide me. And I thought, wow, so simple, but so
true.
honoring.
Mare, what in the psychic world, the psychic phenomena, the paranormal world, we call that being an empath. And a lot of people don't know how to tap into that, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, a lot of people don't know intuitively, but they can learn. It is a learnable skill.
It is.
Would you agree?
It's a talent and a skill that can be learned. You're absolutely correct. And you know one of the best ways to learn that is through meditation. I kid you not, big time. Now,
yeah, and what I love about you, so I became a yogi and went celibate when I was 18, and learned to do meditation. And but what was interesting is while I was doing my meditation, sometimes I would feel really, really turned on. And I would start to feel this life force, this Kundalini starting to awaken in me.
yep,
Kundalini life force. And it would be like the stirring sexual arousal. It wasn't about movement or friction. It was just about feeling aliveness. And through my breath, I started getting really aroused. And sometimes I would have these really cosmic experiences, like I was making love to God with my eyes closed, with my tongue, inside, just focusing. And so that's actually when I took the bridge from meditation into Tantra, which is also a form of meditation.
absolutely.
Meditating on pleasure.
It's a yoga, just like meditation is. Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's a meditation on pleasure rather than meditating on being totally still and quiet inside.
Exactly.
So I like that a lot more. It was more fun.
Yeah, right. No, let me ask you this, Mare. Now let me ask you this: if you knew what you know now, could you easily have prevented the rape when you were 16?
Well, a story comes to mind when you ask me that, because I remember being in another situation where I was a little more evolved, a little more advanced. I was at this time living in my yogi, celibate, spiritual life a few years later. And I was hitchhiking again. I was, back in those days, it was kind of a freedom thing to do, very open. And I was going to the ashram where I live in Buffalo, New York. And a man picked me up, and within a few moments, he started unzipping his pants and playing with himself. And I got a little nervous, and I put my hand on the car door, like ready to get out. And he looked at me and said, "You're not afraid, are you?" And he said it in a way that was almost sincere. And I thought, well, interesting question. You caught me off guard, so I said, well, as long as you keep that to yourself and don't expect me to get involved in what you're doing, then it's fine. We all do it. Just it's yours. Like, keep it to yourself. And he was fascinated with my answer. So it kind of turned things around from him. I don't know what he had in mind, but eventually we got into the spiritual discussion. And his number went back into his pants and he zipped it up and he came to the ashram with me and actually came to satsang that night. And kind of shifted a little bit. So I felt like I actually did turn things around because I was giving him freedom to be in his own sexual power without feeling like it was terrifying.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Without being weakened by it or losing my power. So
with that in mind, Mare, I gotta ask, and as crude and as obnoxious as the question is, it's got to be answered. It's got to be looked at. I believe if we're going to heal, all of us heal, then every perception needs to be looked at so that can happen. Yeah. And so my question to you is rape a form of Tantra?
No. No, unless you're
Go ahead, Mare.
Imposed upon somebody, and that is no.
Lorae, what do you think? Go ahead.
No. Why would it be a tantric act when it's done? It's done. I wouldn't say it's done with unconsciousness, but it negates the intention of both people. There's only one person's intention is to overpower and it was looking. In general, if it's a male perpetrating this on a female, it's taking away her choice, and choice is essential in becoming conscious. And it's also it's not a sexual act, it's an act of power over somebody else.
Good. And Mare, go ahead. We didn't catch you because you were cutting out, but go ahead. Mare, you still with us? I don't know if she's still with us. We might have lost her.
She said that, she may have lost the connection.
Oh, what?
Maybe we can talk a
Well,
little
she's
bit.
still there, but
Is able to come back on.
go ahead, Mare.
Okay. Experience like that, and of course, the earlier conversation about what's happening in us, coming out into the open a lot more, and of course we know that a little bit.
Yeah, you're cutting out quite a bit, Mare. So go ahead.
Ask her if she can repeat what she just said, and because we kind of missed that, a big chunk of what you were saying.
Yeah, I did.
That's self-deception.
Yeah, that reception.
Do you want me to repeat that?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
No, you're.
Now we can't hear you at all. I don't know if you can hear us. I wish there was a way we could tap 3 times and let us know if you can hear us. All right, but you're not coming through at all.
So okay. So she went ahead and she got out. So let's go like this, Lorae, and let's go back to that question that I had. I think it's very important that people understand the distinction. And you're absolutely correct. It's about a power structure thing. Either power structure, power struggle, or power sharing. And that's the difference. Okay, Mare, go ahead.
You back?
Yep. Go ahead.
I'm back.
Okay, I hear you.
Oh, good. Sorry, it's starting to rain a little harder than I did. That's why. I'll give it my best shot. So what I'm saying is I feel like rape, forceful aggression, and sexuality is really a one-way street where one person is imposing their desire upon another person in a way where they're using that person to get their own satisfaction, or at least temporary satisfaction. But one of the things that I said to that man who was getting himself off in front of me, I said, that's really not what you want right now. What you really want is connection. I remember saying to him, in this case, I don't know if his intention was to rape me. It might have been, because there he is, hard and happy to go. But, I expressed to him what I felt from a woman's point of view is that our sexual power is such a beautiful gift to share that if you're going to take it from somebody, you're not going to get the kind of satisfaction that you really crave, that you really desire.
Exactly.
And I think that there's so much oppression around sexuality, especially those celibate priests, and, people who think that sexuality should be a lot of frustration because our sexual desire
Yeah, you're cutting out again, Mare.
Wait.
All right. And
I don't know if I can get a better signal.
that, I mean, your response is very good, and so is yours, Lorae. Go ahead.
I'm going to walk around a little bit, see if I can't get a better signal.
Okay.
All right, now we got 2 bars.
Oh, yeah, you're coming in really good now.
Okay, so I will address that question again. It's like rape is nothing new. It's been happening,
For centuries.
Wars, centuries. And, it's a way of overpowering and kind of dominating, and men forcing themselves and also to propagate and take precedence in ways that are creating more that society, that particular race. So it's a dominant factor. But what's sad about it is that men are really missing what's most important. It's almost like their perception of sexuality is so small that it's only about them, and they don't realize that the connection between women and men is where the real magic is. man is able to give a woman a satisfying, pleasurable experience where she's feeling divine and, oh my God, in her bliss, that makes a man really feel in his power. And not just in the moment that he gets off, but,
Exactly.
In the whole relationship is transformed because he's giving her something that also brings him great fulfillment and satisfaction as a man, as a lover, as a partner, and the connection is where the real desire is coming from. It's like, how can we really feel that sense of oneness?
Exactly.
We all desire to feel oneness. And you can't get there when you're dominating somebody.
Right. Well, okay. So with that in mind, is S&M a form of Tantra?
Ask the question again. Is what?
Is S&M a form of Tantra?
Oh, S&M. It's a role play, and to me, Tantra is okay. Let's kind of go back to the real essence of Tantra. It's a union between the man and the woman.
Exactly.
It's a dance.
It's a yoga.
Feminine. Yeah, it's that. Yoga means union.
Yep.
And in this case, it's a union between the man, the woman, and the creative life force. So it's kind of a trinity connection. Because when you can bring God into your sexual connection, that's when you truly have the kinds of experiences that bring you enlightenment. Like yoga, really, Tantra practices are really a form of enlightenment as a gateway to accessing not just the power that creates us, but how to use that power to not only make babies, but how to use that power to recreate our own bodies so that we live in a healthier, more radiant manner, and we can actually rejuvenate every organ in our body, including our brain, with certain sexual practices. And the Taoists in particular were really fascinated with this aspect of sexuality. So they have the Tao of sexuality, and there's a practice that even doctors recommend to their patients. If you have kidney trouble, you should have sex practices that have the person with kidney problems lying on their back, so that all of that sexual energy, when it's being generated, is directed toward the kidneys, and it literally helps to rejuvenate that organ in the body. And there are many positions, in fact, for different ailments that are, even written about and in books that the Taoist doctors would recommend to their patients. So I think that sex is like medicine. It's a rejuvenating life force and power.
Got it.
As well as having.
So now, okay, so let's go like this. So, Lorae, what do you say about S&M? Is S&M a form of Tantra?
Well, there are people who practice something they call dark Tantra, and they are bringing, I believe, elements from their Tantra background into the BDSM world. From what the little I know about BDSM is that it involves consciousness and consent. It allows you, as Mir said, to play with polarities and without a gender attached. So it's not about a male and female. It's about if you want to say, masculine energy and a feminine energy. A man can be in the feminine energy, the woman could be in the masculine energy space. Talk about the dominant submissive. It can be a way of working out certain holding patterns, or I call it glitches, that happen from, your experiences in growing up, childhood, and teenagehood, etc., where you get this kind of like imprinting on being of wanting either to be a submissive or something. And again, it's a very complex issue, so but I think there could be it could be tantric to people who maybe have a tantra background and are bringing those principles to that practice. to that lifestyle. And for a lot of these people, BDSM is a lifestyle. Not all, but for some people, it is.
Okay. So if I hear you both of you correctly, and S&M is a form of role play, a form of fantasy role play to help heal wounds that have to do with pain, with abstract forms of growing up when concerning sexuality or power, and then also what I hear you saying, Mare, is well, from what I understand, enlightenment is a form of surrender and sharing power. Okay, so with that in mind, my assumption, and this is where the boundaries lie concerning abuse, sexual abuse and rape, is that when rape is in the form of dominating someone and not having any kind of boundaries or safe word to use or any kind of what's that?
Agreement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then it's considered abusive. It's considered out of bounds in the form of tantra. But when rape is in the form of a contractual agreement, and it's fantasy in the form of helping to heal people from certain things growing up, sexual behavior or whatever, then actually again rape is a form of tantra. Is that what I hear you guys saying?
No. I would take the point where I would say that, if I can just jump in here for a second, I've experimented with S&M, and the touching upon the boundaries between pain and pleasure, but that was because I chose to, and I knew that there is a fine line between pain and pleasure, and I discovered it actually while I was meditating in the dental chair, learning how to transform the pain of having my tooth drilled into kind of an ecstatic buzz that went through my whole body. So I was curious about pain and pleasure and dominance and submissive. And in the early stages of my Tantra practice, I went into a role play with somebody where it was an agreement. Showed me lots of toys and restraints and whips and various things, and then he blindfolded me and took me to play with all of these things. And it was fascinating for me to discover that my mind and that feeling of surrendering to him gave me a certain thrill that excited me to a certain degree. And I knew I was safe, even though he was playing with that danger zone, testing my boundaries. But, I knew I had, like you said, a safe word. But when I discovered that when I was relaxed into the sensations, like, for example, being spanked, it's a really fun thing to experience. If you know how to play with it and run with that energy and kind of, enjoy the sensation of somebody giving you a strong, like, sometimes I find men are too soft, too gentle, and I like to be played with rough sometimes. I think we all do, but there's a time for everything. So what's beautiful about really a skillful dominant male or female is knowing how much pleasure or how much pain they can inflict to help the person really let go to the next level of their ability to feel. Like in the Kama Sutra, they say there's 7 levels of touch, and the 7th one draws blood. We're talking more about fingernail imprints that not necessarily make bleed, but that it brings, marks to the skin. But there's an excitement to that too, as long as it's within consent.
Got it. Okay, so with that in mind, then we're going back to square A. S&M is not a form of tantra at all. Is that what I hear you saying?
It could be. So you're talking definite and
exactly boundaries.
And so you'd have to take it case by case. So it could be.
Well, I don't think it has to be case by case. I think it can be generalized.
Yes, it does. Yes, no, you can't. No. That's my opinion. I feel a strong opinion. You're hearing it.
I think it's a generality. It's either
No.
part of S&M. Rape is either part of S&M, or it's not. And if it's not, then S&M is not a form of tantra either.
No, you're mistaken here, and this is, I think, an important distinction for you to get.
Okay.
S&M is an agreement. It's a mutual consensual role play that both people step into. A person wants to be submissive so that maybe they're in control a lot in their life. And they run a busy office, or they run a busy, kind of control freak lifestyle. And then they want an ability to just let all that go, whether it's a man or a woman. So they submit themselves to somebody who's going to take over. And in that taking over, it opens up avenues that they don't ordinarily get to see. And that's an exciting paradigm.
Exactly.
A zone to surrender into. Rape is a totally different experience, and not to be confused.
Rape is also a form of fantasy play. I mean,
well,
I'm pretty sure.
Yes. It can be. It's an agreement. So that's
okay.
When people have an agreement, so you just can't say you're talking blanket statements, and you shouldn't give our listeners that kind of idea.
I'm not. I'm getting real with you guys.
I'm going to call you on your shit.
What's that?
I'm going to call you on your shit on this.
Okay. So
responsibly.
Again, go back to defining rape. What is rape then?
It's a dominant force that is not consensual. It's a terrifying experience for the person who's experiencing it because they're losing control. The time that I was raped, I thought I was going to die. I didn't know I was going to make it out in one piece.
Okay.
And the problem with that is that every time I had sex after that, I would reach a point where I thought I was going to have an orgasm. I'd get close to letting go and having this orgasmic experience, and then the terror would repeat itself. And I would have these flashbacks, memories of being raped, not in my mind, but in my body. My body's memories, cells in my body were in that frozen trauma. And I relived that trauma again and again and again until Tantra taught me how to release that trauma through processing it, through expressing the feelings that I didn't let myself experience or express at that time, and experience a different end result. So there were many different things that I did to unravel the rape in my body.
Exactly.
One of them was actually, learning to say no with the most conviction, and then having the person who was putting, this role play upon me, listen and respond accordingly, so that I felt like I could change the outcome, at least in the way my body responded.
Perfect.
Sensuality.
You didn't have an agreement. You didn't have a safe word to use, and you felt insecure and unsafe from the whole situation. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, the difference is you feel safe and you trust this person in the situation.
Exactly.
Will they respond when you say no? When you reach a point where that's your limit and it no longer feels good, will they honor that or not?
Right, and that's the big thing. You can even have relationships and you can have that agreement, and sometimes that there's that seduction with the power element that the person will not respond to the safe word. They will go over and they will then make a violation.
So even in S&M, people are violating their boundaries. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes, I've read where subs have been violated by a dom, even though there was a safe word, or they had said, well, he's a master and he knows what he's doing, and we don't need a safe word, and they get talked into it. And there's violation that goes on, and unfortunately, it's something that isn't talked about much in that community, from what I've read. So again, I'm not an expert, but
so okay. So let me ask you this: Are you guys telling me?
What I want to say about this is that in any type of when you're dealing, this is a strong energy.
Absolutely, it is.
And if people aren't taught how to master that energy, whether it's power, the energy of power, the energy of sex, and when it's blended together, it's even more volatile. that if you don't have the training to master it, then you see then you have the consequences of what we're seeing in our society.
Absolutely.
Mm. And we're not taught because there's so much fear, as Mayor mentioned earlier, and shame and guilt around sexuality and healthy sexuality. That this is the result, and it's since the tail end of the sexual revolution, we've gone 180 degrees in the opposite direction. That everybody is now hyper vigilant.
So okay.
And there's so much tippy toeing. It's like walking on hot coals around sex, and we having to be ultra.
So okay.
Conscious.
Go ahead.
With your actions. And then the misunderstanding around an action and what you're seeing now. Some people are getting blamed for things and, whatever.
All right, so I tell you what. Let's take a breather. Let's play some music by Jason Rotman from his album Divine Love. And then we're going to come back. And I want to come back and talk to you about Tantra Heaven. Are you okay with that, Mare?
Of course. Uh-huh.
Okay. So let's go ahead and play Jaya Rade Part 2 by Jason Rotman from his album Divine Love. We're going to send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light and love to all those people that practice Tantra, to you, Mare and Lorae, to all your family and friends, to all your vehicles and places of residence that take care of you, to me and my family and friends and my vehicles and places of residence that help take care of me, to the presidents. Oh man, that guy needs some help. To the president of the United States and all his family and friends and all his entourage, to all the kids and the animals and the planets and the plants on the planet, especially the ones that need me concerned. Anybody you guys want to add to that?
Just blessings to everyone who needs to connect with you.
Got it. Lorae? Right?
Well, anybody who's ever been a victim in any way.
Yeah, but you got to send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light and love to the predators too, because they have to heal just as much. Absolutely, you do.
Well, there you go. You just said it. So
they have to heal. Everybody has to heal. And well, I tell you what. To everyone in need and concern, we'll be back. Jason Rotman, Part 2, Jaya Rade Part 2, from his album Divine Love, and we'll be back.
Jaya Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Radhe. Jaya Jaya Radhe, 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 Jaya Jaya Radhe.
And we're back. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Women's Productions on pre-conference call, and we were on Instagram, but it didn't seem to be very happening. But also on YouTube, establishing and maintaining right relationships. We're back tonight talking with Mare Simone. She's actually in Hawaii right now, out there playing around in the beach. And we have also Maha Dakini Lorae all the way out of San Francisco. And then now you're in San Francisco right now, right, Lorae? Oh no, I take it back. You're in Las Vegas.
I'm in Las Vegas.
That's right. You're out playing in Las Vegas. And then tonight we're doing the Intimacy Tantra Relationship Psychically Fulfilled show, talking about Tantra Heaven. So we've talked with Mare. She grew up in Buffalo, New York, went to Florida, and she decided to make her own life at a young age of 16. And then she went through all this mirage, this whole life of learning about sexuality, eventually tapping into Tantra, and then learning, and then eventually connecting with Charles and Carolyn Muir out in California, and working with him in the form of Tantra. Now, was that where your actual healing took place at, concerning your sexuality, Mare?
I'm sorry, I didn't actually hear the question. Could you repeat that?
Now, is that where you actually where your healing took place with your sexual nature?
The healing. Yeah. Healing is an ever unfolding thing. It's kind of like peeling away artichoke layers. The outside
Right.
is kind of thorny and hard, and sort of like a shield, and layer by layer we soften up and we get closer and closer to the sweetness in our heart. And as we peel away these layers, more and more of our true sweet lusciousness comes into form, into being. So truthfully, it took me years of many, many loving, healing, tantric experiences, a lot of tantric massage. Tantric massage is being touched in a very conscious, loving way that is kind of the opposite of rape, really. It's just for that person to receive as much pleasure as their body is humanly capable of experiencing in that moment. And one of the types of massage that I was able to discover much of my sexuality awakening through is something that Charles refers to as the sacred spot massage, which is touching the places inside of my vagina, or in Tantra we call it the yoni, which means a sacred space. And yoni massage is becoming a thing. There's a lot of people talking about yoni massage right now. In fact, there's an article a woman wrote about the yoni massage I gave her and how it was unexpected healing and transformations as well as orgasms in her life. So for me, I discovered that the more I could relax internally and let go of my past fears and find that I could trust inside rather than feel guarded and protected, the more pleasure I would discover inside my body that I had no idea was available. It was like kind of, as an explorer, we discover new land, new territory. That's what it feels like to awaken a yoni that's been frozen from terror, from shame, from guilt, from, doesn't have to be rape, but anything that causes us to contract and shut down. It's epidemic that women, 60 to 70% are not orgasmic from intercourse. That's huge. Why is
Wow.
that? You know, and yet, I mean, yeah, those are the statistics that are, you know, commonly known out there. If you Google it, it's really true. And yet, women are potentially multi-orgasmic. And the beauty of that is that every time a woman has an orgasm that, you know, is a deep, satisfying, not just a clitoral orgasm, although those are nice too, but that's kind of like the doorbell that opens the doors and opens the gates to heaven. To me, the really deep, satisfying orgasms come after that first one, with internal massage and, you know, feeling, awakening that space of recovered sacred spot, which is just halfway in to the dynamic. It's not all the way in yet. It's halfway in, and learning how to open that territory with touch, with conscious, loving, energetic touch. It isn't about getting a woman off, but it's about getting a woman to open and relax and feel what's inside of her. The interesting thing about that is that, you know, the G-spot or the sacred spot, as we refer to it, it's like a series of ripples line textured skin. And like an accordion, these ripples, after we get engorged, they start to puff out. And what's beautiful is that in between each of those ripples and ridges, kind of like the roof of your mouth, that texture, it opens up nerves that were otherwise kind of close up or behind the scenes, you know, in between and not really receptive. So I have this belief, because I've experienced both, being not orgasmic with penetration, being extraordinarily pleasure discovers with the slightest little movement of penetration. And what I found is that when my yoni was relaxed, amazing pleasures could occur. And when it was contracted, I would feel nothing, or I would feel pain, or I would actually feel numb inside, or a combination of those things. With
Exactly.
striving effort to try to feel pleasure. And I'm sure a lot of women can relate to that. So I just really want to emphasize that, you know, inside of us is this field of possibility, but it needs to be approached consciously, God, so that it can blossom instead of contract, resistance, guarded.
So now, when we talked earlier, Mare, and I don't know if I mentioned this, maybe I didn't mention this, but enlightenment to me is literally surrendering to the all, to the all of it all. I mean, to it all, period. And also sharing, sharing, which for the most part can come or does come in the form of service. So with that in mind, then this is this tantra can be very instrumental and useful in attaining enlightenment at any given point once people are ready. I'm sure of it.
Yes, I think it's the fast path to enlightenment, because it doesn't avoid anything. It doesn't say that's bad. It embraces pleasure, and it even embraces the extremes of pleasure, all the way up to the seventh level.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's all there, potentially there. So, and I don't see why there's anything wrong with tantra or tantra. Now, what's the deal with tantra heaven? What's all that about, Murray?
Well, heaven is a state of mind.
Okay.
I mean, there may be a domain or a realm that we access when we leave the physical body, but it's also a place that we can tap into when we're feeling our connection to source. There's an alignment where we're feeling the quality of, you know, our power, our creativity. It's just being in a state of awakeness while we're in this physical body. We don't wait until we die to get there. We can access it while we're here.
Why not?
And to me,
go ahead.
Why not? But we can have it then too.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. Why not? Why can't we go ahead and experience that now? Why wait?
Yeah, totally. Because it's within us, and when two people come together, or I'm going to say this as well for people who are single, you don't have to have a partner to practice Tantra and to experience divinity in your body. You can access that experience within your own body just by feeling into the power and maybe even making a statement of intention, a conscious kind of prayer that mine is often like I open myself to feel the universal forces of creativity and love and pleasure in my body. And I sometimes say that to myself as I light a candle, as I prepare, excuse me, for self-loving exercises. And sometimes I like to dance and bring my body to a high kind of electrified place with energy before self-pleasuring, so that there's a lot of energy to play with.
Okay.
And to me, accessing, the energy that creates life is directly connected and a link to source itself. So, that's why I say it's that place where skin and spirit meet.
So let me get this straight. Tantra heaven is it's a group, but it's also a state of consciousness. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, it's that state where skin and spirit, where your body and your soul are in harmony and you're feeling aliveness. And it doesn't have to be through sex, but anything that brings you that quality of pleasure. For me, like right now, I'm standing over this beautiful cliff in Hawaii, and I'm looking at the waves crashing from the rocks and seeing that connection between the hardness of the rocks and the softness, the yin of the water. And there's something very kind of organically sexy about it. This is life in its raw, pure, natural state. And, I could experience this and feel it as a reflection of that energy, that essence within me, where the ocean is kissing the earth and there's this communion that's taking place. And I know it sounds very poetic and out there, but that's really how I see life. There's, yin and yang. There's the dance of masculine and feminine in all of life, in all of nature. So sometimes just being in nature is a cosmic or a sexually erotic awakening kind of experience. For me, sexuality in nature is my favorite state.
Right.
Where to be and how to feel that high frequency of life.
Maha Dakini Lorae, what do you think? What do you perceive about all this?
What, Mara's definition of Tantra heaven and all of that?
Yeah. Why not?
That's why we're doing what we're doing, is because the world needs people, women or men, to help awaken those who are sleeping, those who are caught up in the illusion of separation, that we're disconnected from each other, that we don't have any commonality, and that perpetrates this unconsciousness in behavior and action. And that also is part of that instinctive human base that we came in here with. And again, when we start the path of consciousness or awakening, you're connecting, and I believe that, our sexuality is that energy that connects between soul and the physical body. It's the bridge to help you then re-establish your connection to the divine. And so that we can have that heaven on earth, the Tantra heaven, but bringing it here, it's not someplace outside of here. It needs to be on this earth.
So pleasure.
I can jump in and dovetail on that.
Go ahead.
Can I just say something about that? Well, I think it's kind of fascinating how we think of sex, we have this expression of sleeping together, because our society culturally do with our eyes closed, in the dark. We don't talk about it, because in many cases people don't even express what they're feeling or the sounds of pleasure. So there's a sense of sleeping. It's all about kind of almost being, doing something that's naughty, doing something that we shouldn't be doing. So in a lot of cases it's done quickly because we don't know how to open our eyes and really witness our partner in this, oh my God, ecstatic state. So just a quick little story. Some years ago, I was interviewed by a magazine in London called The Sun, which, if you know about it, it's a tabloid. one of those salacious types of magazines that really, makes its money by telling outrageous stories, or telling a story that has an outrageous title. So the title to this was, Meet the Sexual Healer Who Slept with 1,500 Men. And I have to say, I don't sleep with these men, I awaken them.
Right.
And then I send them home to sleep with their partners and their friends.
Exactly.
Oh, a friend of mine just popped into the scene here. Yeah, so I mean, even the idea of, when we have our first sexual losing our virginity is also another kind of negative connotation or deflowering. I think it's, just the way that we look upon sex from the very, very beginnings of our life and our sexual understanding. And I often like to awaken people, kind of re-virginize them, to say, if when you were little, you were told, son, you have a magic wand in your life. Learn to use this magic wand in ways that it can teach you, it can awaken you, it can bring you power, it can bring you great pleasure, and it can also provide great pleasure for your partner who you choose to love with this magic wand. And if women on the same token were taught from the time they were little girls, we have a basic space between our legs, not something to be shameful and hide and have fear around, but incredible power.
Yeah, she got cut off.
Drop off.
Yeah, she got cut off. So anyhow, so I think that it's safe to say that regardless of circumstance, and I think you hit the nail on the head really good, Lorae, is that illusion. Do people really want to continue with the illusions, the abusive illusions, the illusions that are out of the body, not in the heart space, or not? I mean, it's really simple. Either you're in your heart space or you're not. Either you're in the form of in the space of enlightenment, in the space of love, in the space of God, Goddess, or you're not. So anything out of the heart space is not real. It's not real. It's elusive, just like you said. And so would you quit screwing around, Mare? What the heck?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm back.
I'm back. Right. So I was saying that anytime something's not in the heart space, if you're not in your heart space, it's not real. It's not enlightenment. It's not love. It's not God, Goddess. It's elusive. Just like Lorae, Maha Dakini Lorae said earlier. And if you want to continue living in your elusive lifestyle, that's where you're at. I'm not going to argue, but that typically leads to pain much more than pleasure. I would assume. Would you assume that? Go ahead.
Yeah, especially afterwards. I mean, you can have friction, excitement, pleasure, but it's how you feel after the experience of orgasm or after making love, whether it's fulfilling or not, and whether it's really been a deeply satisfying. Because I know a lot of people have this sort of, very basic desire, this urge, like a trap, that they have to, get it out of their system. And then they're done, and then they just want to get about it and go on with their day or go to sleep, and are left feeling more empty in some cases. And it's really sad, that emptiness that occurs when it's just a physical friction, stimulation, and release. Sometimes it's just kind of feeling used. But it's how you feel afterwards. You feel like you've been loved and cared for and nurtured and desired and met on a very high level. Afterwards, from an experience like that, you'll feel radiant. You'll feel like ready to meet the world with new challenges, with a power that's innate inside to awaken. So yeah, back to that feeling of being awakened rather than sleeping.
Exactly.
As Lorae was saying, there's a lot of sleeping people in this world who haven't really awakened their power, haven't really awakened their sexuality, their pleasure. And I'm passionate about helping people.
So to all of you people out there, mostly to the guys, but even women, to all of you out there that feel you need to be abusive, that feel you need to be raping somebody, is that where you really want to be at? Is that what you really want? You want to continue with that pain for who knows how long? And why not? Why not just nip it at the bud and clear that clear the pain? Because that's what raping that is for the most part is all about. I'm pretty sure of it. So do you really want to continue with that pain, or would you rather get into your heart space, learn how to clear all that crap from the past, and get into your heart space and experience the pleasure, the love, the radiance, the goddess within yourself? Don't you think that's a nicer place to be? I'm pretty sure of it. But anyhow, any last words? Anything that you got coming up that you want to put out there? Mare, go ahead.
Yes, I do. I'm starting a campaign. It's a project called the Pleasure Empowerment Project. Because I believe that pleasure can really empower our lives, not just in the moment that we experience it, but in that afterglow that I was talking about, and in our life force, and in our mentality, and in our state of confidence, and how we move about on the planet when we're filled with pleasure is a whole different state of being than how we feel when we're stressed, anxiety, or tension. So I'm creating a project where I want to empower people to really experiment with bringing more pleasure into their lives on a daily basis. Every day, do something that creates more pleasure in their life. Whether it's sexual pleasure or any of the other chakras. Our entire body is loaded with erotic itself. And you can feel gasms in your heart. You can feel brain gasms. You can feel, pleasure that rises and flows in every center in your entire being. So the Pleasure Empowerment Project is going to be on Facebook. I'm about to release it. And in addition to that, I'm creating a project called the Mojo Mastery for Men and Couples, where I teach men how to last longer. Because that's, I think, the biggest issue for men is that they don't know how to control that pleasure. And either they, come sooner than they want to, or they lose their erection because they're oftentimes too worried about whether they're going to maintain it or not, rather than feeling the energy flow. It keeps that, arousal and turn on alive. And also I want to help women, so I'm including couples in this group, so that women can support their partners in lasting longer. Because if a man can last long enough to satisfy a woman, then you've got great fun. And starting in February, I'm going to do a group that's for women and couples, so that we can focus on women who support them and help support and empower them.
Got it.
So you can find all of that. My Facebook page is Mare Simone, that's MHRE, in Tantra Heavy. And that's where you can find me, or you can just Google my name and see everything, including that crazy article that came out in the Sun.
Right. All right. Lorae, any last words?
No, I just hope that this program gets played far and wide, and that we've done a little, bit to help shift from unconscious to conscious.
So Mare,
yeah,
you can post that on my Facebook page, on Andrew Aloha's fan page, if you want any of that information, if you ever want to do that.
Yeah,
so.
the Pleasure Empowerment Project, sure.
All right. I want to thank all of you for stopping by, Mare, for sharing your expertise, and Lorae as well. I want to thank all of you. And for those of you that are going out to celebrate the turkey holidays, just be safe. It's probably going to snow. I have a feeling it's going to snow because it's been getting really cold. Today was actually a beautiful day here in Flagstaff, but it was cold. But it typically right around this time it'll start snowing. So keep warm, keep safe, and have a gobble of a turkey holiday season. All of you have a Goddess week, Turkey week. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will be. Aloha.
Aloha.